alive
What's up?
with a little bit of live music. And you only get to listen to if you're here on time. Or if you're watching this later. This is an original riff, right? It's not like a...
I mean, like, no riffs are original. What's up, Trisel?
Oh, right, Trisel, school us. Are any riffs original?
Because, like, there's only so many notes. You know what I mean? Like you can't, like, there's only so many rhythms. There's only so many notes. Obviously, as you extend it out, there's, like, more combinations of things that you can do. But, like, have you ever seen, you remember that old viral video that was like a comedy group, the 4-chord song bit?
Yeah,
you know?
Something of awesome?
Yeah, League of Awesome, maybe?
Yeah.
What's up, Sam? What's up, JD? The, like, so much of music is, like, the same thing, except, you know, different people have different opinions about it, but, like, the thing that separates most music from other music, especially in pop music, is just the vocalist and the quality and timbre of their voice. Like, you could have 5 different artists sing the exact same thing and it's going to sound 5 different things because each, like, vocal chord setup, and, like, vocal cord plus diaphragmatic setup in their bodies just sounds different.
Were you playing a 1-4-5 sort of progression?
So I'm on second fret, but it's basically a C, E7, A7, I think F7. So yeah.
JD said, "What about the notes between notes?"
Those are spaces. That's where the music.
Yes, the crypto. There are only so many words on YouTube. We're in the Library of Babel situation. We're just looking for the correct combination of words that make people feel something. Which today we might enjoy, since we're gonna talk about political flashpoints. More spicy topic. Let's see how I managed to unspice it. I think that's the recurring trend. Oh yeah, Pachelbel. I think Pachelbel is the basis of all pop songs, right?
Is canon in D is the 4-chord progression. All right, let's get this going.
Thanks for resolving the chords.
That's a Zoomer hack. Joji, I think, kicked off a lot of it, but, like, just 7 chords, and they never actually resolved the song. But, like, the shortcut to sad boy music is just 7 chords and, like, just all over the place.
Oh. I feel like I don't actually know a lot of Joji music, but I listen to bedroom pop of people who really love Joji. So
yeah. That's funny. Bedroom pop. That used to be a much bigger thing.
Yeah, what happened?
I mean,
I think they got signed. There's a whole batch of them that actually got actual record deals, so they got popped out of their bedroom.
I just think that, like, I mean, it's kind of like the arms race of quality that we were talking about on the last one, right? Like, like, there's so many technical musicians. I mean, well, one, people I think got tired of their bedroom because of COVID, but but I think the bigger thing is the people that break through as, like, playing a instrument in a room or whatever. It's, like, it's just fewer and further between because, what
about Doechii? I'm trying to drop in a new reference to show that I'm not completely falling behind on music. The rapper.
Oh.
She started off bedroom-ish, and then now she's really popped. I think after, like, 5 years of hard work, though.
Yeah, like, you know, I don't know. I mean, like, what do I know? I haven't succeeded in terms of music in any way, but
you haven't tried.
Yeah, no, not meaningfully. But it's just an interesting time to do anything on the internet because, like, there are still the examples of, like, the pure grassroots kind of thing, but like the median piece of content that people consume is much higher production quality than it was even a couple years ago. Like, even if you look at stuff from the beginning of COVID, it's a lot higher production quality. And that's just like tough because it basically means that like rich kids are the only ones that can do a lot of it.
Yeah, because even the bedroom pop person has the entire like set of good nice gear, right? These days.
I mean, like my ring light just went out and it just cost me $150 to get like a good a good light. Like I could get a one that'll die after a few months like this one for, $40, but I just want one that works.
Stop shopping on Temu.
Trisol, you have ascended past everybody else in the chat by loving just your bedroom music.
Yeah. I think this is the once you've been in a band and gone on tour national.
What's up, Marianne? Thanks for dropping in.
Oof. Yeah. So like we're gonna talk about political. Well, we're gonna talk about flashpoints.
Yeah. Like it was a little clickbaity of us if we're being real.
Wait, but are we not going to talk about politics at all? That's such a clickbait.
No, we can.
Okay.
I mean, like whatever people want to talk about, we can talk about. I'm just more interested in, like, we call it flashpoints because that's kind of like a army word for it. Like, although it from a non-military context, what was that about?
Oh, well, it's a very specific to me context. It's because there is this like advertising agency that named itself Flashpoint something. Okay. So that's the only time I've encountered the word, but I've also like seen it in some like marketing context of like, a flashpoint is like almost like a fancier way of saying viral, of like, oh yeah, this is the hit.
Yes to crypto, poly, many ticks, blood-sucking creatures. That's funny. Right,
I've never heard of that one before. That's such a good one.
Oh god, this is so hard to do by myself.
Cameron's trying to focus the camera. At least I hope that's what he's doing, and not a modern interpretive stance in the middle.
No, that is what I was doing. It was a dance, and I'm actually really bummed that it didn't come across as a dance.
Oh, okay.
No, I just wanted our heads to be the same size, which, as you pointed out,
the ongoing issue. Yeah. So.
Oh man.
Yeah, and then when you were bringing up flashpoints, I had to look it up. Apparently, it has a scientific definition of like when something vapor ignites, I think is the actual definition of it. But I'm assuming the military context as well, it means like when things have gotten really bad and that's when things take a turn.
So it kind of has a negative connotation like that, but the way that I really think about it is in the kind of in the chemistry context, where it's like there's some sort of latent energy, some sort of like potential energy around, like in the ether. If it's a group of people at like a music festival, and like a crazy musician comes out that everybody wants to see, the crowd's already hyped, that person comes out, it like everyone goes nuts, and like maybe there's like a stampede or something like that. Like it's like this, it is an inflection point between nothing happening and something happening. That ultimately that's what a flashpoint is to me. Obviously it has the connotations of explosions or fire or whatever, or shooting. In the army context. And so like you typically hear flashpoints in the context of like you're somewhere that other people don't want you to be, like the local population. And so there's like a level of discontent. And then at some point they get mad enough that, they attack you. And so I think it's a really useful framing to think about how stuff is happening right now. I'm not here to incite riots or anything like that. Because I frankly just want everybody watching the show to enjoy their life the best that they can. But it's very clear that a lot of people have a lot of feelings right now. You know what I mean? Like that's really what I'm getting at.
So the examples of flashpoints are things that have been happening in the news, right? Such as a certain person who has shot a certain person.
I mean, we could say Luigi. I mean, I would say like. Well, I'm not a murderer advocate.
Luigi, but that's why I said it so broadly. I was like, oh, almost every event is someone shooting someone in the United States.
No, I'm not starting riots. Like So I'm not a commentator. I'm not a I mean, I guess technically I am, because we do this show and we yap for an hour every week. But the like what I mean is, like, I'm not trying to social engineer the things that I say to get people angry or outraged or fired up or whatever.
Right. In fact, we're trying to like undo the fire, which makes it much less likely for this show to be a flashpoint. I'm realizing.
I mean, like that's just kind of the nature of the beast. Like, I'm not here to get people riled up, but I am here to like try to understand the things that I see. And I am here we said this in our last show. I was like doing clips, sub to the channel to get shorts of our show if you can't watch all of them. But there was one where you're talking about how
shorts in this channel. Hit subscribe, hit the like button so that they will show up.
Smash it. But the sorry, I'm manipulating this mic right here. We said we leave space to have a better answer tomorrow, and I really, really like. I mean, to be fair, I said it, so I really, really like the thing that I said. But the like, what we're doing on OK Banger is we like say things that we think today, and we leave space for a better answer tomorrow. And like, I think. And then we talked about.
But we should recap what you said, because I typed it out.
Say it. I didn't know that.
I've seen it. Yes, and this is interpretation of what you said. So sorry if I misphrased what you said. So I think that what you were trying to say is that right now there's so many of these like flashpoints, especially in the news, right? And it's all like designed to rile people up, and that it is really easy for us to lose our agency and sense of self, that kind of thing, because like those like flashpoints are designed to hijack everyone's individual nervous systems. So there is like, like speaking of Polly, many ticks, it does work that way. The ticks are sucking away our life energy because they all take so much attention. And the ones that are really good are the ones that make you feel something really bad. And that's where I've been in this trap too, of like, oh my God, like, am I supposed to avoid the news? And how do I do that? But then that means I'm giving agency into the news, having an effect on myself. And that's also not great.
Yeah. What's up, Raphael? I mean, like, to be super explicit about it, there is a clear incentive machine with dollars and like specifically advertising dollars, but also implicitly with like sponsorships and in general, like people value attention in some way. There's a clear incentive machine that has been built to keep you not paying attention to the things in your life and paying attention to whatever that person wants you to pay attention to, including us, which is why we said subscribe. But we try to be straight about it, and we try to not make you feel bad by the end of the show. In fact, the opposite.
Yeah, and it's okay if you choose not to subscribe. Like, I think that's what's missing sometimes.
Master Chief,
we're not guilting you into subscribing.
Actually, Kristen, do you see the 07 in the chat?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Reflect, meditate on it for a second. Chat, don't help her out.
Huh? Okay, well, chat, give me some hints, because I have absolutely zero idea what 07 means.
Raphael, you are using a machine right now that is doing that. Like, YouTube is designed to keep you paying attention to it so that YouTube can get money from people that are putting commercials on YouTube. Like that.
Yeah, and hopefully ours doesn't have commercials, but it is all designed that way. So what is your new and improved opinion? I'm imagining like a little soda can with new and improved.
Do soda cans get new and improved on there? Maki Crew, thanks for being over on Twitch. Like, kind of true. What do you disagree with? Trisol, you're raising your hand.
Yeah,
you raise your hand.
The classroom orderliness.
Chat's not nearly big enough for people to need to raise their hand.
Yeah.
But I guess my new and improved take is that, like, and this, honestly, this isn't that unique, but it's so clear to me how many of the issues that are framed as political issues are actually class issues. Like, period, full stop. And it's a bunch of people. Trisol is trying to give you a hint. It's a salute. It's the salute emoji doesn't translate to every platform, but 07 is a salute.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean,
EIL, a new ASCII emoji. Who knew I can still learn something
yeah.
in this day
Yeah.
and age?
Maki, I hear you on the user data stuff, but like,
Okay.
what's the point of collecting user data? Ultimately, to show you more content that keeps you focused on the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, to crypto. I did not censor any comment. Please
I
try to
didn't see
type
your
it again
comment.
with more spaces because it's
No.
see, like this is the dark pattern. Like we did not want to censor anything.
We
you're
are
saying.
being oppressed.
Yeah.
The Tudorizer. It's actually a pretty sick emoji.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if this is 100% true, but I think it got popularized under. I guess it's technically not an emoji, right? It's an emoticon, which is from the vaults. But Helldivers, a game that was popular like a year-ish ago.
Oh, is that new? This emoji set? I mean, this
it's not
07 thing?
It's not new, but it became like popular usage because there's like an in-game chat and it's like a military type game. And so like Maki, thanks for the combo. I appreciate that you're enjoying the show. But yeah, the showing of the ads on the other platforms thing is really hard for YouTube context. So you can't see it. Maki is saying like, hey, it's not just ads, it's like user data. And then you can use that user data to retarget people on other platforms, which is true. And interestingly, is actually getting harder to do, mostly through Apple, making it hard. Like the advertising IDs aren't as uniform as they were a little while ago. So it's like, not an Apple fan boy exclusively, but like that is like one thing that is a little bit in counter to the crazy
We're at the
tracking.
point where it is like the like Game of Thrones, where one house is helping us indirectly through their like want of success.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah, JDL commenting out my full word stuttering here. That's pretty funny.
So like
anyway, billionaires getting shot. What?
So for political flashpoints, like
yeah,
even today I inadvertently caused one on the feed.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was really funny, and that was totally Ted, if you're watching this, I genuinely was very confused by why you were asking the question. So actually, just to bring it on air, the question was something like okay, to be fair, if you read what she says literally, like I should have gotten it, which is I feel sad. Why are they cutting park rangers from the U.S. government? And then a lot of people like me had the knee-jerk reaction of like, well, isn't it obvious? Like, and like,
which is not effective communication.
Well, that's why I was like, yeah, I shouldn't say that. But I genuinely was like, isn't it obvious? Like, what are you actually asking? That was really confusing to me until and then you brought up the actual fact, which is, like why? And I think you understood her intent, which is like, why park rangers rather than another department? And I did not get that context. And then you answered correctly, which is they have the most probationary and short-term employees, so they're the easiest to cut. And I was like, oh, yeah, that is the actual literal correct answer to what Ted was asking, but I totally missed that.
Two interesting things in there. The first one being, just in case you're not aware, because most people don't really understand how the federal government works because they haven't touched it, even though it's one of the largest employers on the planet. It is really hard to fire federal workers without costs. And that's by design, because it's overseen by inherently political bodies like political parties. And it is very easy to cause a lot of chaos if you can't maintain continuity between one political pendulum swing to the other. And so like the entire federal like employment system is really predicated about this idea of continuity. And also, if I'm being critical, because I'm very critical of the federal government, it was designed in an era where people did spend their entire careers doing this thing. And so all of the timelines compared to jobs today feel very elongated. Like a 30-year career in the federal government, like the equivalent in the civilian sector doesn't freaking exist, really. Like, because companies don't exist like that for the most part anymore. Cool beans. I don't know if that's sarcasm.
I think the Cool Beans is an example of the horseshoe political spectrum.
I mean, he's defaulting like we should take responsibility for maintaining the parks ourselves.
Just the,
That's literally what federal funding to take care of the parks is. Like
really?
that, like tax dollars is the thing that is solving the tragedy of the commons.
But I'm assuming cool beans here means individualistic, taking care of things.
Nobody lives at the park. The like obviously you shouldn't litter, but like there's
you're
enough
talking about
people
trail
who
maintenance
litter.
and things that
Yeah.
won't work out without paying
Like,
someone.
yeah, I mean the people proximal to the parks would be the only ones that could do it, unless we all take a trip to Mount Rushmore to clean it up once a year, which doesn't really make sense.
That's a very commercial. Actually, that's not a great park to say. Having been there, I'm like, dang, that's a very commercial oriented.
What do you mean?
Park. The Mount Rushmore?
Sure, that was the first one that popped in my mind.
Yeah, have you been there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because when I went there, I was a little underwhelmed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I thought that it would be bigger.
Yeah. No, it's not.
It's a very because everyone's photos are so zoomed in, including the one I took. But like, you don't realize that like it's like a tiny little corner of the mountain, and most of it is a concessionary and like super paved, and it just didn't feel like in like Yosemite, like some more natural like sort of national park.
I'll defend less strenuous national parks. I think that just because
they want accessible, yes.
Yeah, there's accessibility reasons. There's also like the barrier to entry to enjoy certain national parks, I think should be lower because again, it is like a public good and not everybody can do everything that requires investment, gear, whatever.
Right. Oh, so I was actually citing a TED example to show like, that's where I got caught up in like a flashpoint situation because my nervous system is so taxed from this kind of discourse that I assume it's like what could you say? Like that was like the gut like reaction, and I feel like you were able to see through and be like, oh no, that's actually a question.
Well, that's the thing is I'm not seeing through. I'm not being cleverer. Literally, when I read text, I just read the text and then apply context to it if the text doesn't sufficiently have the information that I need from it. And that's not like a trick. That's like literally just how I perceive the world. Like I'm not taking something and then like trying, like not trying or not is not the right framing. But like that's how I've always read messages from people, which is why 30% of the time our conversations, a lot of our Telegram back and forth involves me being like, what do you mean? Please say more about this. What do you like? What's the context for this thing that you just said?
This is such a superpower because it makes you like 1,000 times more patient than the average person.
I'm pretty sure it just means I think it's autism adjacent, if I'm being completely honest.
Well, yes, that too, according to all the Instagram reels I watch about this topic. But how useful to have?
Yeah. Woof indeed, woofy. Okay, no, but before we go, volunteerism can't be the answer to things because it is an undue burden on volunteers for things that are benefited by, that are enjoyed by like a larger group than just the volunteers. Is volunteerism good? Does it make the world better? I think so, depending on what you volunteer for. But if you rely on volunteerism, like you're doing the same thing that a crappy partner in a relationship does with weaponized incompetence of like, oh no, you're just better at cleaning. Like just it's the same energy.
So, but this brings up a great point, right? Which is often like debated. Like, if something bad is happening, is it better to, and it's a false dichotomy, just for argument, is it better to like protest it, or is it better to take an action towards an anti, like the opposite direction of what is happening? And I think like that's implied by what Cool Beans is saying. Like, do something about it. Don't whine about it. But like, I feel like there's also the in at least in American history, a lot of things to change because of protesting to some extent.
I don't know. We talked about reading the electric Kool-Aid acid test a couple weeks ago, and while I generally think that there's a lot of I try to read.
You need to do both. So I want to make sure I show that I'm not quoting out of context.
Yeah, I agree. You just banned Cool Beans.
Oh my god! What did
I do? This is so funny. Kristen, you're oppressing our chat.
Oh my god!
Unban Cool Beans, please.
Oh my god! I know he has a backup account, but I need to try it with you. Yeah, while I apologize.
All right, so I try to read the past with empathy and grace, because we already know that their morals aren't as evolved as today. That's like just definition of history, is that 100 years ago, the thoughts weren't as thought about as they are today, because like we've had more time to think about things and more people to think about things and more people to write articles about things and whatever. Yes to crypto. Kristen did it on purpose and I caught her.
I'm so sorry.
Dictator
sorry.
Kristen over here.
I didn't even know we even could ban people. How did I catch that?
Dude, that's so funny. But so I try to read the past with some empathy. But in the electric Kool-Aid acid test, I can't even remember his name now. Ken, maybe? But like the ringleader of the pranksters, he was invited to speak at a Vietnam War protest. And he showed up. He was one of the later speakers in it. I want to see Cool Beats come back. I know you're trying to figure out.
I hope so. Oh, I'm so. The only way I can reach Cool Beans is through like DC and Warpcast.
That's so funny. Immortalized. But so he's one of the later speakers, and one of the earlier speakers comes up and basically gives like a very angry, like Mussolini pounding fists, like, everybody in the crowd get angry energy. And Ken, I think his name is Ken, comes up and he's just like, you're playing the same game as the people starting the war. You're just trying to manipulate the energy to be angry at a different thing, at the thing that you want them to be angry about. And he's like the only way to not participate in this system, because it's designed to do something angry that makes somebody else angry. It's like the anger is designed back and forth. The only way to like win is to not participate in that system. And I don't think that makes sense in every context, but it is a really interesting way to think about everything that you're kind of swept up into. Because like, arguably, there's a political machine that is like keeping the status quo the way that it is, but also arguably most of the people angry on the internet about the things that are happening aren't going to participate in government. So like, how angry are you really about it? I don't know. Like the world needs a lot of different people. JDL, super agree. The like
anger, Kobayashi Maru, like you can't win.
Yeah. And so like, anger doesn't help me in my day-to-day life, right? You know, it can maybe help me get over a particularly, annoying task to do, but in general, it raises my blood pressure, reduces the quality of my day, and keeps me out of the state of mind that I want to be in when I'm doing things, which is like somewhere between Zen peace and giddy happiness, right? Like that's like giddy, goofy tricksteriness. Like that's where I like want to live, because that's where I feel like the quality of my life is the highest. And like, you can still do things when you're not angry. In fact, I think you do things better when you're not angry a lot of the time.
That is so true.
And so it's just like,
but on the other hand, as you've witnessed for me, sometimes like I can motivate myself out of anger.
Yes, it's a useful emotion.
Probably not great.
Yeah, it's
or a huge embarrassment. Also, by the way, Cool Beans did reply me. He said, I'm watching, so I don't know where I'm banned at. So it is possible that he is shadow banned. Actually,
Cool Beans shadow banned. Can you drop a comment in the chat to see if it's back? That's so funny.
I'm so sorry.
Cool Beans is like, wait, I've been banned. It's like that.
I know, which is
meme.
the worst. That is the dark pattern, right? Like shadow banning is in a way worse than outright banning, because you don't even know.
I mean, it's very Ministry of Truth-esque.
Yeah. Again, 1,000 apologies.
Yeah.
Okay,
Actually,
so
no, we did it on purpose. Get out of
we
here.
demonstrate a point.
Yep.
How one can be silenced.
The
So hmm.
Anyway, to close the Trump loop piece on the firings, here's what I think is happening. I think the Trump team mostly doesn't know what they're doing, which is actually a benefit a lot of the time, because if you don't know what like the left and right limits are of things, you just try things and then sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. They're not Ian Brenner, maybe Ian Brenner, but there was a good Neil Brennan, I think is who it was, wrote a good article a month ago about like, hey, the fact that there's so many executive orders coming out is actually a sign. And like, you know, I generally lean more liberal just as like a you know, outward show of my biases, but I'm like fairly libertarian in terms of my fiscal politics. But the idea of so many executive orders coming out is actually kind of a sign of like governing weakness, because if you actually had a coalition of people to do long-lasting and like meaningful things in the federal government, U.S. federal government, you would pass laws in Congress. But in fact, both parties can't really pass laws. So it's not really comforting, but it's like an interesting framing of it.
But that's I mean, given the imbalance that's happening, that's no longer the case, right?
I mean, it depends, because like he's gonna do all of the things that he can feasibly do. He's gonna do things that are outside of the bound, and then we're kind of stress testing the court system to see if the checks and balances that we've built into the system work. The problem is it's always a longer time scale, because it's a government. It's always a longer time scale than what you want, and it's like eons longer of a time scale than a news cycle. And so by the time something does get rolled back, it's like weeks or months down the line. And so like in some cases the damage is already done, but like either way, the news cycle is way past it. And so like part of the
I think one like
practical
demonstration is that there was a water release from California situation that supposedly happened. Like, that was ordered, right? It's like, you know, California's holding on the water, we're going to release it. But then actually, like if you look into the records of the flows, which is public data, they stopped after 3 days. So people are silently reversing a lot of things that are being like demanded, actually, which, you know, goes to show like the citizens are doing what they can within their power to not do things that may cause long-term damage. Also, thank you so much, Cool Beans, for returning as Solar Punk Living. Again, so sorry. Oh my gosh.
I agree that absurdism is generally the way forward. The world has always been a bunch of cognitive dissonances. It's mostly been concentrated in ruling parties that have been inconsistent in what they say versus what they do. But like now that we have cameras and sensors everywhere, everybody gets to participate in the joy of cognitive dissonance and the fact that messages can travel the way that they travel today. Everyone feels whether the actual effects or just like the communication effects of it, it's TBD. That's what we're talking about. But like, we're not built to hear everything all the time about everyone and everything else. Like, we're just not, right? Like we're a couple 100,000 years removed from like pulling berries off a tree and pooping in the woods, right? Like, I mean, I did that a couple years ago, but
I was gonna say pooping in the woods. I might have done that 2 weeks ago. Actually.
Kristen is 100,000 years behind, y'all. She'll catch up eventually.
It was an emergency.
But JDL, the national parks, the checks and balances are bears and wolves and fire. We will for sure have a lot worse fire disasters here over the next decade. Like that's, I mean, that was already going to happen, and it's just going to go crazy. So this is another thing that I think a lot of people aren't comfortable with, but through the serendipity of my life, I have experienced enough things that I'm like more okay with this outcome. Sometimes things need to break. You can interpret that in a lot of different ways.
Right. That's some of my more like calm friends right now. That's the thing that they're going for. It's like, this is the pendulum. Like it will swing until it can't swing anymore. It breaks, and then it'll swing the other way again.
Yeah. The why
Yeah.
take the
Oh, I
low
see that
hanging
there's
fruit
actually
of Trump?
a
Yeah. Just
European debate going on in the chat.
give me more context. I don't really follow Europe because if the US is slow, Europe is standstill. But
Yeah. Oh,
but I'm
whoops.
I'm happy to talk
I
about it.
don't mean. Well, no, they are more advanced in certain things like regulating the number of plugs, like electric plugs.
I like another thing that
We benefit
that
from that, so we don't have to have so many dongles.
I think
I'm so
the
sorry, Europe. That's
unintended
the one
consequence
that came out.
I think the
Quite wrong.
unintended consequence of this is that you end up with less movement and progress on hardware.
Right,
Like,
right.
and so like I'm generally I think it's stupid to be
Yeah, they do
pro or
train
against
well.
regulation. No, I do think that they do trains well.
Yeah.
I will agree with that.
Mhm.
That said, they have a different geography to put trains on. U.S. train density and geography is it's a very different problem. I still think it should be solved, but it's a very different problem.
Mhm.
What are we talking about? We're talking about breaking things.
Yes.
This might be controversial.
Mhm.
Luigi type things are part of the breaking things things process. Like
Mhm.
people have a say in how they want the world to be, as
Mhm.
we've seen by every generation of people. Again, I'm not pro murder on the podcast, but I do empathize with the impulse of like, I'm really pissed about this thing, and this is the only way to get people to pay attention to it.
Right.
And the fact that it's not part of the conversation anymore does make me kind of squint a little bit, because that was a pretty big deal, and a lot of people were excited about it.
Yeah. There was a more recent thing where he issued a very good statement again. Like, it's just like so different from the world, like just even just a year ago. Like, he came up with a very nice, like, calm statement, like thanking everyone for their support. So luckily there is an outpour of support within and outside of jail or prison.
What are the odds that Luigi's a senator in 20 years?
I hope so. Like, like, I don't know, like, what's gonna happen next. Like,
I think it'll be really
his odds of being pardoned at this point are pretty low given the
yeah. I mean,
situation.
Trump admin's definitely not going to pardon him. Although I think it would be like a crazy 5D chess move. It wouldn't be a
like
5D chess move. It just would end up being one.
Yeah.
But the I just don't think that the billionaires in the Republican Party could abide the
right.
Yeah,
I mean,
Insta
that's why
crypto. The
I'm very
afterwards is
motivated to
crazy.
start Rogue Science, right? It is a little bit like Luigi motivated in a sense of like, oh gosh, healthcare system is so messed up. What can I do to help people access what they need to access? So this is my like little attempt at like taking action.
This podcast will be entered into evidence in a few years if you snap, just so you know.
Oh, I think about that all the time, maybe to an alarming degree of like, things that I say now that can be taken out of context in court are quite a large number at this point.
I mean, that's the nature of the beast.
And I think that's the nature of everyone now, though. If you're a content creator, you've said enough things that can be used against you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I have conflicting opinions within the same podcast.
Oh, right. We need to do in Homer Simpson where they clip the show and you can see that the clock is moving in a jittery way because every other word is clipped out. You're too young to understand my Simpsons reference.
Oh no, I think I know the clip that you're talking about where they like turn his like statement in direction X into direction Y by like clipping certain parts of it.
Yeah. It's like the AI before
fakes.
AI.
Bye, Trisel. Thanks for popping in. Yeah. Okay, so what is the next CEO that should get shot? I'm just trying to make clips. No, I'm feeling myself today.
That is the sound my cat used to make.
Oh,
when he's upset, like there's a very like clear disproving sound that he made. That's like, and then we knew that he was upset about what's about to happen.
That's really funny. Rue will go like,
right, and then that is the upset noise.
Honestly, that kind of thing really makes me wish I had the resolve to be a vegetarian.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say resolve to do the talking buttons for the cats.
No, I do want to do that too. It just seems like a lot of work.
I mean, yeah, it's only like the entire work of a cat behavioralist slash veterinarian, but they make it seem so doable.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting topic. Are things, have we made things seem so easy that people get discouraged once they start trying to do hard things?
You mean everyday life of me?
Well, I mean, no, but seriously, like, I've mostly been of the opinion that like this is the best time to ever do anything because the wealth of knowledge that you have access to is like better than it's ever been in history. And that is true once you're at like a certain level of proficiency of, hey, I know what I don't know, and now I can access these things. But now I'm thinking about. Go ahead.
Oh, I think that's a really great point. Something I've been thinking about since last night, hence my anxiety dream. It's like, oh, I can see that like I need to work on my own obsessive special interest. Like, and that's where I've been like fluctuating in my energy levels, is because sometimes I work on what I think is my special interest, but is slightly off.
Say more.
And I feel like maybe that is the anchoring thing against like flashpoints and stuff like that. So I've noticed that sometimes, like, you know, as you know, in a way that really, I think, slightly irritates you potentially, my obsession with finding high volume, low calorie foods, and why I would randomly mention like edamame pasta. It turns out it is not so great after all. Like things like that. That is actually my special interest at the time. But the thing is, like, I'm like, oh, I need to wrap that under rogue science because it needs to be a better representation of the breadth of my special interests. You know what I mean?
Like, no, I actually don't. Can I actually say it doesn't annoy me. Oh. I do generally want to, like, it's your life, your body. Please do the things that you want to do with it. But also, it is a very prevalent problem to be like obsessive about calories because of like body image stuff too. So when that comes out, I like to be like, oh, is Kristen in a good headspace? Sometimes is the thing that I worry about. And like, you don't have to talk about that. That's just like,
oh, okay. But like,
I just want to make sure you're
I'm in a great headspace about it because I am like trying to figure out a method of like, you know, weight and fat loss that is the most enjoyable. So therefore, I'm like obsessively trying to find like my invention, like my twists on recipes, because a lot of these like recipes online, like especially for bodybuilders, I'm like, oh man, this is like true suffering to eat like boiled chicken breast and broccoli.
Yeah, but, no, like, that ain't it.
Finding these like little hacks I've not seen other people do, so I'm like, oh, I am coming up with original recipes. But the thing is like where I feel like bad is when it's mismatched according to what, like, in the same day, my friend was asking me about like liver enzyme testing, right? And like where to get that done in the most easiest, least annoying way. And then like I understand it's an insurance situation. So I was like, you know, you should use like ownyourlabs.com, which is like super cheap access to like LabCorp and Quest like blood tests. But then that kind of uncovered that, oh, like, then he's like thinking, oh, do I have to go to a place? How does it all work? It seems really troublesome. And I'm like, oh, I can solve that because like I can tell people, oh, it's not troublesome at all. You just go to your nearest like Quest or LabCorp facility. And then we joked about having our own like blood person who can draw blood like in an Uber like situation. But like the point is that like I have a hard time sometimes matching my current obsessive special interest to what I think I should be working on, which is like the table of every place you can access these panels of tests, which is also useful. And like I can see that I'm almost there, but there is like a slight delay between my special interests and what I want to share. And do you
so,
see
like,
what I mean?
Okay, let's just say it back to you. You're doing things that you like to do. You have an overarching thing that you like to do too. There's also micro things in the moment that you feel like you should be doing, and like the should being some kind of imposed, hey, I'm not working on my big picture goals.
Yeah.
And like the thing that you're realizing is, oh, the thing that I do like to do is in that direction, even if it's not specifically the thing that I thought I need to do today. Is that
right?
Okay.
And I'm seeing that people who I admire, who are like really prolific creators, they actually match it. You know what I mean?
Is that like luck or is that intentional? Right? Because like
I
some
think they are
people
more
just
okay.
are
They
aligned
don't have the
luckily.
they don't have that should on there. They don't think like, oh, I should be working on this. They just
I mean, I feel like they
do.
post the should.
Huh?
I feel like they don't
impose.
post the should feeling.
Possibly. But I
Right?
feel like you know, oh, I see, like that's what I want to get to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Sam's right. I'm not annoyed. I am worried. Just because like I pay attention. That's interesting.
I also want to add
kind
that
of
I'm eating
You
very
don't need to
close
defend your
my
diet on here.
PEE, and that I'm not anorexic or anything like that. I'm eating a lot.
No, but like we have mixed feelings about body positivity things here because we like to toe the line between like, no, like your nutrition does impact your health, which some parts of the internet don't like to talk about, but also, you know, you should have autonomy over how you want to look and move and feel as you move through the world. Interesting. So is the solution to your dilemma killing the part of you that is like oh, you need to be doing this right now, or is it something else?
I think so. That seems to be the prevalent thing. Where
what does that part of you look like?
Like the way you said it was very accurate.
like a crone. Like a crone coming out of like a hut in the woods, being like,
I feel like that's the funny thing is that I feel I'm very close to Ikigai in my day-to-day life already. I'm like, but
pretty
it's
sick.
like slightly off, you know?
What's off?
Like this whole
part?
like there's still like a little should, and I'm like, dang, this little should like is never actually quite right, because what ends up happening is, and then I fight the should, and then we're both wasting our time.
Yeah.
So
I wonder what my little should looks like.
Gee, I wonder.
I don't know. I think he probably looks a lot of my little should. Man, I'm waiting for
I'm
writing that
to arrive
down.
at his own conclusions.
So like the little should is an interesting personification of a part of us that I think people feel in varying degrees, right? Like there's some people that feel that never, but still may be unhappy with their life, right? Because they like sit on the couch and smoke weed or whatever. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do, but some people are like trapped in that loop. Mine feels a little bit closer to it's a you're not doing enough. Like because it still exists even if I'm doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. And so it's less of a, if I understand like your spot correctly, it's less of a like, hey, work on this different thing, and more of a like it's like a little shitty referee that comes out and then moves the goalpost a little bit every time I do anything. I think that's more of like my little should. It's like, oh no, you should have done more today.
And in the past, you've also brought up how, like, you know, you and I both agree. It's like we're aged to the point where we no longer want to be like disciplining ourselves to do something, right? Like we're trying to aim for like pure vibes.
Yeah, which is like inherently privileged because like, you know, there were times in my life where like I didn't even have the luxury of thinking about what vibes I want to curate for the day.
Right.
So cool beans. If you want to go outside, just bring your phone. JK, if you want to go outside and turn everything off, just do that.
Oh, we accidentally called out. Oh man, today's just been a
look. This is actually the Cool Beans Bullying Podcast. We've rebranded. Okay, bully. But okay, so the thing is like we've identified parts of ourselves that are not what I would have concluded 10 years ago, which is like, if I'm doing the day that's aligned with like the vibe, I end up doing more, working harder, having better output. And, you know,
Right.
some of that is cope, right? Like that's not true every single day. Some days like grinding through emails or whatever is actually the most productive thing to do. But like for the most part, it makes that day better in all of the respects. And then it also makes the next day better too, because you build a little momentum for the previous day. And so it's like a understanding of the holistic aspect of your life across multiple days versus like any individual moment of productivity. It also works in reverse though. And I think you don't understand that when you're younger. I mean, some people do, but like I certainly didn't. That like there, my dad told me this when I started military college, because he went to the same military college. He didn't serve, but he went to the same college as me. Yeah, or I went to the same college as him. And he's just like, look, Cameron, you can do anything for 6 months. And like when it gets shitty, just remember you can do anything for 6 months. Really helpful advice for me, because within 2 hours, I was having a bad time, because the same day that he told me, hey, Cameron, remember, you can do anything for 6 months, he had also recommended I bring my guitar to VMI, which is like the Virginia Military Institute. And guess what happened to the kid who brings his guitar to the first day of military school? It's a very bad first day. But he did that on purpose because he thought it'd be really funny. And it was really funny
your dad
for everybody else.
you in the being
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He threw me right under the bus.
Oh my gosh. Cameron's dad, why would you do that? I'm sure it was really funny, but
yeah, it was great. And honestly, the story, my best man at my wedding told that story. It was that good. And so my dad got a huge kick out of that because we were in the same company at school. And
oh, okay. But I think like ultimately it's almost like I'm cultivating my own flashpoint, right? Like
yeah.
I feel like
gathering the activation energy.
Yeah. And then to me, that involves like that referee voice is never helpful.
It's not never helpful. That's like the tricky part. Why? Like the only reason we're having this discussion is because it served us at parts of our lives, right? Like probably late nights in the lab during the PhD. Like
yeah, all of that. But I think like that's the whole point. Like you said, is that you know that voice wants a job. And I'm trying to fire it from his job so I can retire.
Yeah. Where does it make sense for the little should to live?
I actually want to acknowledge Latif for joining us here.
What's up?
Way back up. Because like I think that's like he's a great example of someone that I feel like is really squared in his passion in art. So he's a fantastic artist of all sorts of media. And I feel like, I really admire that because he knows what he's good at and he keeps like, creating in that direction. And it really shows in the prolific nature of the output. And I feel like it's almost like that the referee voice is not winning when the output is not stalled,
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, like I'm still very much in the valley of misery. The flip side is like there's some benefits to being in there because like for better or for worse, a lot of like really good writing comes from a place of like misery or unhappiness. Like not all of it, but and I've been thinking about being stuck doing things. And I've been playing around with like a line that I really, really like that came to me. Because I've been trying to make sense of what I'm calling my many nights of urgent delay, which is like it's really important to do something, but that something always ends up being kind of a nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's like activity, but it's not moving anything forward. And I don't really know what it means, but it's like this sense of it's really important to be doing the thing, but I don't know what the thing really is, even though I have a voice that is like telling me to do things.
Oh my gosh, literally me last night. I called it something different. I was telling my wife, it's like, of course, before we go to sleep, I'm like, please listen to my existential angst.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm trying to like solve a math equation of something, but I can't tell anybody what this is or what it's for. And, of course, the math equation here probably is something to do with like, I want to be able to solve for completely vibe-based like output with absolutely no shoulds, no discipline required whatsoever. And that is so important to me. I'm willing to sacrifice my own productivity to prove my own point.
What do you think you get when you have it?
I don't know. Like, and I think that's why it's so powerful. It's like there is enough mystery there for me to keep searching.
The work is mysterious and important.
Yeah, but it's also like it doesn't look like, it looks like me like diddling around the computer on the day to day. It doesn't look that impressive.
Sorry, Chris, I have to ask: are you watching Severance?
I have not started. I know.
Oh no!
And then my friend was telling me I should watch Dark Matter too, and now I'm way behind.
I actually haven't heard of that.
It's about apparently like infinite universes, and like every time you make a decision, another split copy of you is made. But then you realize that like it doesn't work in a very linear, clear way, or something like that.
Interesting. I just want to talk about Severance because we'll get some clips out of it that'll go viral because everyone's talking about it right now.
Oh, okay. You can reference it. I know about the concept of innies and outies.
Yeah, one of the descriptions of the work that they do on the severed floor is that the work is mysterious and important.
Oh,
because they're like, why are we doing this? Yeah. What's up, Sheik? What's up?
How JL mentioned the Valley of Misery National Park. Actually, that came to my mind too when you mentioned it.
What state is that in? Depression.
The state of. Well, no, not necessarily. Sometimes, it can be, the valley of despair and that like hard work XKCD graph.
Oh, yeah. No, but like actually, what state is it in? Is it in the Southwest?
Oh, is it an actual place?
Oh, I thought that was what you were referencing.
Oh, no. I think it's a joke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a really good callback joke that included the beginning part about the national parks. And also, Cool Beans mentioned that I live in that place that you said no one lives in, a national forest. To that, I say you are the exception, not the rule.
I mean, you can clean up the parks if you want.
Which he does, and it's a very fantastic YouTube channel by, I think it is under maybe Solar Punk Living. So do check it out, where Cool Beans does actually clean up the national forest.
And should get compensated for it.
Yes, through crypto grants and such, which is very nice as well. One of the few.
It's just national parks are literally what taxes are for. It's like the exact kind of problem what taxes are for.
Mm-hmm.
National parks, national defense, those are like big buckets of things that make sense for taxes. Flashpoints.
Yes.
We care about doing things. I think a lot of people do. It's really easy to get your energy redirected to something that somebody else wants you to do, because it's hard to set up your own trail.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we hire people at national parks to maintain trails, because trails decay.
Mm-hmm.
Trees fall on them, mudslides happen, all the goodness, rains wash them out.
Mm-hmm.
That happens in our life too. Depending on how you're raised, you kind of like pick up bits and pieces of agency about your own path. I accidentally had agency, I would describe it as, because I think like I'm not trying to diminish other people that grow up in different contexts, but like my parents like think about the world a specific way. And that specific way is like a function of their opinions, how they were raised, their life experiences, things that happened to them, and like the world that they grew up in, right? Like my dad worked for Coca-Cola his entire life because like that was how working worked. Like you go to a company and you work there forever.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was in high school during the Great Recession. I kind of saw like we didn't get hit nearly the same way as some other people, but like I watched employment shift. Like it was, I didn't really think about economy type things outside of just like reading posts on forums on the internet in the mid 2000s. But like in high school, it was like subsequent You know, I got a job at Steak and Shake as a
Mhm.
server. I
Mhm.
like we experienced a great recession.
Mhm.
Startups kind of became a thing. Silicon Valley apps, you know, people making money in the app store, all just like coalesced into a different kind of how money flows through the world. And then I joined like the military as a part of it. So I was like, oh, the things that I kind of took as the model of the world uh, weren't necessarily like I could see a clear difference between my model of the world and a previous model of the world. And I was like I didn't conclude my model of the world is right. I
Mhm.
concluded, oh, models of the world change and or are wrong.
Mhm.
And like as a result of that and my inherent, I just rebel reflexively because like I hate listening to what other people tell me what I should do, made a person 10 years ago that was like making decisions to do things roughly in a high agency way, but not explicitly high agency for its own sake, just because like I was this person. I was like a low agency person making high agency decisions by virtue of my circumstance is kind of how I would describe it.
Mhm.
And that kind of changed when I went to business school, which was again a low agency, high agency decision because like I couldn't get a job doing math, which is what I wanted to do because I studied math. I couldn't get a job doing operations research because no one wanted to hire me. And I kind of like stumbled into this like really fortunate MBA position. And that started a process of being like, oh no, I can actually just change things because I want them to change, not
Mhm.
like making decisions that end up accidentally being high agency. And that for me has really helped me understand when other people are trying to build up something for their
Mhm.
own purpose. And that's what
Mhm.
like the flashpoint in this conversation really means to me is like other people are trying to get you to serve their interests, whether explicitly in like a company, which like serving other people's interests isn't inherently bad or wrong or immoral. It's just an opinionated position on how you should spend your time. And you should like, I think it's important to understand when other people have that incentive to make you serve their incentive. And so like having a sense of the agency around the decision you're making and who they're serving, I think is really important to like understand what flashpoints people are trying to push you towards.
So I feel like this is also true in our internal monologues, right? Like
Yeah.
the referees are trying to also have an agenda and are also trying to push
Facts. That
us in
little
certain
should, he's a
directions.
little stinker.
I know, right? All right. So we're probably gonna end it here. It's so funny how everyone thinks that you are an immortal being who is
What?
using a red light mask to
What?
appear of a younger age
Me?
because you are so wise.
I found a gray hair today.
Ah, well, yeah,
What?
your age is showing
I got to
apparently.
read back this chat. Thanks for
Yeah.
hanging out, y'all. Had a blast today, just ranting at a camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, everyone have
Godspeed.
a great day.